I'm Madeleine Harvey. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. In our lesson today, we're going to talk about vocal fatigue. What is it, and what can we do at home to help restore our voice back to healthy balance? So if you like today's video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up or click that subscribe button below. I would love to see you here more often. The video that you're about to watch was taken as a clip from a live voice lesson that was shot earlier today. If you'd like to watch the entire voice lesson and participate in the exercises that we did in today's lesson, well then just click that join button below and become a member of this channel. As a member, you'll have exclusive access to our live voice lessons that we do every Monday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you don't see the join button below and you're on your phone, then check the description for a link to become a member. It's only $4.99 a month, and your membership helps to support our channel. That way we can keep delivering excellent content for you. You ready to get started? Here we go. Hi everyone! Happy day. I hope you've had a wonderful day so far. Thank you so much for being here with me today. If you are new as a member, thank you so much for being here. We're just going to go ahead and get started. If you're a new member, I'm really glad that you're here. Just a reminder, we're going to be doing live voice lessons every Monday and every Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And as a member, I am so happy that you guys contribute to what we're going to be talking about. It is really meant to be a forum that we can learn together and spend some time together. So today's live comes from Jack. I noticed he said, I'm so happy that we're talking about my topic. Could you perhaps speak about vocal fatigue on one of the streams? How to avoid it, how to recognize it, how to treat it, etc. So we're going to be diving into vocal fatigue today. Now, it's a pretty complex topic. We're going to talk a lot about common things that contribute to vocal fatigue. But I just want to say that sometimes vocal fatigue is one of the only warning signs that we'll actually get before a vocal injury. So if you find that in your singing you have a pretty persistent fatigue that happens, I just want to encourage you to actually see a doctor, because vocal fatigue is not necessarily normal, but I do not want to freak you out. The voice is extremely resilient. We'll get in and talk about some of the common causes today. So we're going to jump into what are some non-vocal causes of vocal fatigue? Non-vocal causes. Now these are very tricky elements, because we see where the vocal fatigue actually presents when we sing, but it could be a non-vocal cause. The first one is dehydrated. We don't nearly drink enough water that we need to. So when the vocal cords become dehydrated, they can't get the friction that they normally need, and they can actually stiffen as a result. And that kind of stiffness can contribute to vocal fatigue. The other is you might just be sick. In that case, drink lots of fluids and rest your voice. Don't try to push your voice to do anything when you're sick. Don't try to push it. But the third is extremely common, and I want to give a little spotlight on that. It's something that I personally struggle with. I'm actually having this right now, so I just want to share this with you. It's called LPR, otherwise known as laryngopharyngeal reflux. Yes, or it's also called silent reflux. So what that means, the silent part, is that you won't normally get the normal symptoms and sensations that you would with normal acid reflux. Instead, you would get this slightly swollen feeling, like there's something kind of stuck in your throat. And that is the inner laryngeal muscles have actually become swollen due to acid vapor. So maybe little burps, maybe even had a little trigger, which is my case today. I made some chicken fritters yesterday. Love them, but they're made with garlics and onions, and those are really big triggers for me. So I'm feeling a little bit of the consequences of making that. Oh, but I love it. Anyways, so that's actually really, really, really common. You may have to watch what you eat, in which case you might not notice the sensations of being swollen or triggered. It may present more when you go to sing. So now that we've said that, now those are 3 common things. Lack of water, your body's dehydrated. Drink water. I'm going to share like an interesting fact about water that we may not be aware of. Your body exhales just in a normal 8-hour time, an entire liter of water. An entire liter of water just in your exhale over an 8-hour time. So we've got to be replenishing that. We've got to make sure that we are lubricated enough when we go to sing. I imagine that if you're experiencing vocal fatigue and you don't have any of the other things that we're going to talk about today, that's what you need to do. Just drink more water. You could be sick, in which case rest, and then you could also have LPR. It's incredibly common. It really breaks my heart at how common LPR is. Most people don't even know it, but they get that little lump in that throat feeling. Now, that could also be a symptom of an actual vocal injury, which is why I say if you have a persistent vocal fatigue, make sure that you see a doctor. So having said all of those non-vocal causes, we also have allergies, and there are other things also too. I want to get into the technical reasons why vocal fatigue can set in. And I first want to actually define what exactly makes the fatigue part. Well, the fatigue comes from the body is having to be in a state of overcompensation. Now, what's interesting about overcompensation, which is just what the body does in response to a loss of balance. So let's say if we're singing and we kind of feel that the needs of the voice have become imbalanced, your body will go ahead and overcompensate. Now, you won't always choose that. It happens as a response to that loss of balance. Your body's very, very smart. So what we want to do is make sure that the job of technique is to become aware of where we're imbalanced, where we have any gaps in our coordinations, and then work to close those gaps. That's the job of technique. Okay? So, having said all that, make sure that you stay to the end if you can. We're going to go over some exercises that will help you identify if you have any swelling on your vocal cords and also be able to restore your voice to flow. So common things, I'm just throwing this at you guys. I'm so sorry. It's a heavy topic, and I want to make sure that we get through all the big chunks of what creates vocal fatigue. There are some common technical things that will contribute to it. The big one, technically, is lack of consistent airflow. Now, if we look at tendencies, a singer's tendency, we all tend to fall on a spectrum between having too little airflow, in which case we will hesitate and pull back, or having too much airflow, in which case we will push and apply way too much pressure to the voice. So we will all of us will fall on this spectrum somewhere, and it may vary depending on the style or the way that we're singing. But what we want to do is restore your lungs to the primary source of response. If we don't have enough airflow, what your voice does is it hesitates or it squeezes. It squeezes to try to control the consistency of your voice at the chord level. That's called hyperphonation. Your inner laryngeal muscles are trying to control it there as opposed to relying on a consistent support from the lungs. If you have too much airflow, that's very similar to coughing. If you go ahead and cough real quick, we feel like almost the muscles inside the larynx literally go like this to try to protect themselves from that force. So that generates collapse. So if we have too little airflow, we squeeze. If we have too much airflow, we collapse, and then that just turns into shouting. So a really great way for us to restore the voice to flow is to concentrate on lung capacity. So if you've been with me for a minute, you probably know what we're about to do. We're about to strengthen those lungs. So let's do this really quickly. I have a metronome here. I'm going to start the metronome. This is going to be a little hard if you've not done this exercise before. We may freak out a little bit, but this is a wonderful exercise to do when you want to increase your lung capacity. So we're going to take our lips and we're going to look like we're whistling, like this. And we're going to inhale with full power for 8. And then we're going to exhale with full power for 8. Now we're going to let the metronome count this out. It's going to sound like this. Can you hear that okay? So we've got inhale for 8, exhale for 8. I'll pause. Inhale for 8, exhale for 8. Now we're going to do this together for 2 whole minutes. This just reminds the lungs. It wakes everything up. It's weird and it's a lot harder than you think, but it reminds the lungs to stay engaged. They are the primary source of power for us. So I'm going to start the metronome and then I'll start a stopwatch and then we'll do it together. Ready? Relax. Okay. Here we go. Exhale. Inhale. Woo! Yeah. Can you already hear, how that's a lot more supported? And it's not anything that I need to think about. I've activated those lungs and I've taken my body past a lazy state of rest. Lazy state of rest. 100% of every single person that sings has lazy breath support. Lazy. Partly because we spend our life in a state of rest, where we're on the computer, maybe we're practicing, we're just kind of passively breathing. In which case, mostly the upper lungs get a lot of that emphasis. We want, as Essie said, lack of body support and intercostal muscle expansion gives me vocal fatigue. You nailed it right on the head, Essie. Absolutely. When you are breathing in full power, it's like you're getting that spaghetti noodle. You're noticing that your rib cage and your back starts to expand. And you keep the emphasis low on those intercostals as you exhale with full power. So it keeps these muscles activated. It kind of gently wakes them up. If we don't do anything to wake them up, they'll stay passive. When they stay passive, we'll either push and collapse or we'll hesitate and squeeze. So we're just trying to bring that body back into balance. Okay, that's the easy. And I would totally recommend doing this with a straw. Not a normal straw, because a normal straw is way too wide. The diameter of the straw is way too wide. So you won't get a nice resistance from that pull and that push. You need like a nice juice box straw. We're looking for about 2 millimeters. Or you could just keep your lips like that. That's fine. They will get a little tired, and that's okay. If your lungs are not used to this, what you may have noticed is around 1 minute, 1 minute 30, there was a slight panic response of, you're fine, you're breathing, you're inhaling and you're exhaling, but your lungs are like muscles that we haven't really used much. So they're a little out of shape. They have to get that nice consistent time under tension before they start to normalize to it. So I would really recommend this in for 8, out for 8, total of 2 minutes. I would recommend that you do it 3 times a day. What you'll notice is that 6 minutes total, but you do it 3 times a day. It not only does it clarify your focus and it gets oxygen to your blood and it gives you energy. It's really amazing. It will also start to become really easy. So you will have no problem doing it for 4 minutes, 6 minutes. I was doing this the other day and I was watching a lovely video about exorcisms because I'm dark like that, weird like that. I'm fascinated like that. So I was watching a video and had my hands here and I had my metronome going and I was doing this for 21 minutes and it felt like nothing. It felt really, really great. So I just want to encourage you to keep lung workout as a part of your warm-up. It's also lovely because we don't have the distraction of voice, so we're not thinking about the voice per se. Okay, so now that we know lungs are good, breath support is really good, then the next thing that we want to do is we want to get the emphasis off our throat. As singers, part of the emphasis should be on the throat because there's a lot that goes in there and we have to learn how to accentuate and isolate certain muscles, but sometimes we put too much emphasis on the throat. We may overly pressurize. We may get too much pressure going in the throat. We may get too much pushing. So we have to really restore that voice back to resonance. So a really great exercise, we're going to begin our exercise work right now. A really great exercise to do for that is, there's 2, we're going to do both. One's a lip trill. If lip trills are really difficult for you, then tongue trill. Okay, I was awful at lip trills when I went to conservatories, but tongue trills I could do, and now I really enjoy the lip trill. So we're going to start it here, and what we want to do is we're going to go up, and then we're going to slow it down on the way down. Part of the reason for that is your voice is going to want to relax.